Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm Rosie,
And I'm Linda.
and welcome to Freak of the Week. We have a great one for you today, listeners and watchers. We are going to talk about elite matchmaking services. I joined Meetup for a lot of different reasons, primarily to meet people. And I joined, I forget, it's under Philadelphia Singles Successful Professionals 40 to 60 plus. I got an email saying that they were having a Zoom meeting with some professional matchmakers. So I decided this might really be something I'd be interested in learning about. And part of this, too, I'm interested in seeing how many other people are interested in learning about this. So I joined, it was at 7 o'clock, and I sat in. There were about 16 participants on the Zoom.
Interesting. Wow, that's a lot.
I thought that was a little bit light. I don't know how many people, I'd have to research. I don't know how many people belong to this Philly Professionals 40 to 60. But these meetup groups have a tendency to be pretty beefy from my experience. So
Yep. Yep.
the one thing that they had said in the email was, please, we are not going to be answering questions that aren't pre-selected. Fair enough.
Okay.
So I submitted 10 questions, and it became evident to me within the first, I'd say, 5 minutes that they were only using my questions. So I don't, and I was drinking wine, but I was paying attention.
What was the topic?
Kind of navigating online dating. What was positioned, I think, as tools to help you navigate the online dating world in reality was more, let me see if you 16, if I can get one of you to sign up to my service out of the 16, it's a win, right?
Got
Because
it.
this was not an expensive, this didn't cost anybody. It was done on Zoom. So there was they incurred no expense. I don't know if people cross areas with meetup groups. I suspect they do, though. If you're not too far from another place, maybe there was no information given about the other participants.
Gotcha. So
So
if they could be from New York, wherever, but
anywhere.
so wherever their blanket of prospecting is, so they get all these leads, they come in, and you're going to sit there and now learn about online dating. This is fascinating. Go ahead.
Well, no, you're gonna ask the matchmakers because they're experts.
Oh, these are experts. Okay.
These are experts. See, that's where you got
All
lost there for a
right.
minute.
They're
So
experts. Wait,
they think,
they're experts. Let me tell. Okay, so I got to ask you a question. In the email, did they say what made them experts?
see, you always have to go too deep. No, actually, you can't just let it rest. You can't.
I
Actually,
can't. I gotta know. I gotta
and
know.
in the questions, we'll get to that in a second because I did ask. So they have witnessed firsthand just how much dating has changed over the years. They are responsible for hundreds of successful relationships, and their advice has been featured in the New York Times,
Whoa,
Forbes,
whoa.
Newsweek, Cosmopolitan, and more. Join us to get dating advice directly from the experts.
I'm in. I'm in. I'm
I
in.
was all in. I poured the
I'm in.
wine. I
And
sat
I'm
down.
liking it.
They broke right into, let's get into the questions. Let me also let you know, and I'll tell you this when we go through the questions. This meeting was scheduled for 2 hours.
Okay.
It was 7 to 9 East Coast time.
Mm-hmm.
The question was, is it wise to be on multiple dating apps? Now, this is the part, it's a great question, right?
Yeah, that's a good
Um,
question.
and I am on several as we do our research and as I try to increase my exposure to the dating world. I am on several different apps, like in it to win it. We keep saying that over and over again. If you're on one app, you can only hope that somebody hits you on that app. So I went on several, and
Mm-hmm.
I have seen I have seen some of the same creepy people on multiple apps. So I'm not the only one doing this. And one was like super creepy, but so their answer was, and they took it one step further. They said it's actually wise to do one or two.
Okay. Did they have a reason?
Just it's too much to navigate.
Oh,
No, here was their reasoning, which
yeah.
if you're serious about dating, you're going to be checking. Their supposition was if you're on more than two apps,
Mm.
you're going to be too slow in responding to people for them to stay interested. which that to me was kind of convoluted because that sort of assumes you have nothing to do all day and all night but sit on your app.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a little bit sus. I would. That's a flag. I would flag that one. Yeah. Right.
And
Let me ask you. So wait, hold on. For one question, let me ask you a question. So this dating, these expert matchmakers, what are they? What is their age? Do they have a certain age that they target?
they did not address that. Now, and what's interesting based on this question, they said, and now remember, this is a 40 to 60 plus group. Pardon
Okay.
me, 40 to 60 plus group.
So 40, you're still working. 60, you're still working. You have a job. I
Sure,
mean,
or you have a
yeah,
life. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
kids
sure.
in 40s, yeah, you got kids, you've got,
Yeah,
family responsibilities. Uh, But 40 to 60 is a more mature age group with possibly, I think,
sure.
different motives, different agendas, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The two apps that they suggested
Mm.
were Bumble and
Bumble.
Hinge.
Bumble and Hinge. Are you really? I would say they're
Yeah.
young.
I know Hinge is young because my niece is on it.
Yeah,
I
Bumble
know
and Hinge,
people,
they're
I know,
young.
I know someone who they're getting married in a couple of weeks that met on Hinge, but they're 30.
Okay.
And
So
I
does
would have thought,
so hold on, not to go off on a tangent, but I had to. So Bumble shows up as number two. Hold on, let me show you what I'm looking. Hold on. So I'm kind of curious, right? So I know I've always thought, like you, Bumble is a little bit younger of a demographic. So so here are some stats. Again, this is 2019, right? Showing Tinder, they're showing Bumble as number two, okay, at 5.03, and Hinge at 1.2, okay. Yeah, see right here. 63%. Okay, so this is discerning to me.
yep,
63% of Bumble users are younger than 30 years old, right?
and that's
Now,
really young. That's just out of college.
right. So I don't know. Okay, wait a minute. 4%. So 4% are 45 to 64. So the fact that
Yep.
they're saying to this user demographic, um, the fact that they're saying to this particular user demographic, the 40 to 60s, that Bumble is a good one to use is
This
ridiculous.
disputes that.
Yeah, yeah, it's ridiculous.
So I didn't agree with that. That was if somebody came to me, depending if they were in this age group of this particular meetup group, 40, I might say, you know what, go to Match. I think Match probably has the overall largest database. They've been around the longest. And that to me was a very nice, easy question. What are some of the things that make for the best dating profile?
Hmm.
And they talked what it's common sense, interests, a little bit about yourself, the things that you like to do, the things that someone might find appealing about you. What are the best ways to verify your date's identity? And the first thing they mentioned was Facebook, which I look at Facebook when I'm researching.
Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the right answer is you Google them first. You see what comes up.
Yeah, of course.
I use some other sites if you've got, depending on how much information you have. Once I decide to go to the phone, once I'm ready to stop messaging off the app, now I have a phone number. Sometimes it's informative and sometimes it's not.
So let me tell you something. If they're saying that go to Facebook, first of all, if they're saying go to Facebook to verify the person, Facebook, you've got to
I
be
know.
kidding me.
No, that was the first one.
That's absolutely ridiculous. Or is it just me?
Well, no, it's not just you. I mean, the thing is, you don't have to be a techno wizard to make your Facebook stuff private so that nobody can find anything about you because it's really nobody's business. Now, I've
Right.
had pretty good luck.
It's not always. So I'm curious. Okay, so they said Facebook, and what else did they say? Anything else?
Google.
Okay, you Google them. Okay, all right.
Um,
All right. What's the next question?
I I had said, is it wrong to lie about your age to narrow down the kind of hits you get? Oh, huge problem. You should never lie about anything.
Okay, never lie. Mm-hmm.
Never lie, because no one ever lies. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, everyone lies about something. It
I
might
would.
be small.
I would
It
agree.
it might be a little tiny piece of minutia that they've lied about, but like I like this or I do this. No, you don't. No, you don't. I
Listen,
agree.
if that were true, then the world on a Saturday and Sunday would be filled with people outside hiking because they all love hiking. The world would be,
Is
you go
hiking.
out, there wouldn't be a soul in their house because everybody outside hiking. I
That's all
mean,
anybody
I
does.
love
Everyone
hiking.
loves. And
I
now
love
everyone loves the outdoors.
Right. They
And
love
how
the outdoors and they've done it once. They've gone outside once on 4th of July to actually go get their hot dog to bring it back inside. I'm done. I
and I
love
have
hiking.
news flash for you. Hiking is walking, unless you're
Yeah.
in the woods.
Yeah.
Um, another question that I asked was, how do you know it's time to be exclusive?
Good question.
And that was, boy, talk about all over the map. The map was, well, you talk about it, but I can tell you from experience, this is a really tough conversation to have because when you're getting to know somebody, you might be here and he might be here. Like I think this is one of the hardest things, especially with someone that you go out with multiple times,
Sure.
because it can end really badly. Like, hey,
Hmm.
how do you feel about being exclusive? Nah, I like dating. I'm seeing a bunch of different people. Like, oh my, now you look like a dope, right?
Right.
So I have to, I'll be true, transparent, full transparency. I don't know how to have that conversation. And we know I don't have a problem talking. Somebody had asked me that too early. I had my answer ready because I really did think I saw it coming. And it was going to be, do you think we know each other well enough? Do you think like that's a good idea? You don't want to hurt
Well,
somebody's feelings.
that's a great answer. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Right.
The next question was, um, are are more scammers men or women?
Great question.
And
And what was
again, I got an oatmeal kind of answer. Well, there's scammers everywhere. I mean, I have my own radar for scammers. Um, they never really answered it. They talked about, they didn't answer that question specifically, but they talked about scammers and how to look out. And if you Google them and phone numbers and, and try to force a meeting, that kind of stuff. But they really didn't have an answer because if I really got kind of skeptical as we were going through this, and we're coming to the end of the questions. Why do they want me to be a successful online dater when I believe their intention is to sell me their services?
exactly? Yeah. Very great point, Rosie. Great point.
So I'm suspect of their motives right out of the chute. And getting back to that, the last group of questions that they didn't answer, which to me was almost the most telling part of I don't want you to be a successful online dater. It
Hmm.
was, I see a lot of men looking at my profile. Why aren't they liking me? And some days I'll have 40 and 50 people. It's like, none of you liked me.
Hmm.
What can I do to increase the number of likes I get? And they
Ooh,
didn't answer that.
really?
Yep.
Wow. Did you put it in the chat as a second, like as an extra question in the chat? Could you chat or?
You could. No, I pushed back a little bit in the chat. They just ignored me. They mentioned that they have a 100% success rate. What does 100% look like? And this issue of metrics is a big one because
Yeah.
when you pulled up stuff that we looked at before about Bumble and some of the other sites. So they'll say so many matches a month. Well, what defines a match? Just because you liked me and I liked you, chances are, and by the way, I have loads of those. We never talked. You might have hit like, I might have hit like, and nothing came of it. But in
Right.
their
It's,
metrics, it's a success.
yeah. Yeah. Now
And
you had, I remember, and I had asked you, you had said that their price point was anywhere between um, 5,000 and $10,000, right?
yes,
And you had said that they have about, it's a company of about 8 people,
right. And they
right?
juggle a portfolio of I think 5 clients each.
5 clients each. So I did a little bit of math, right?
Thank God.
Annually, right? So annually, at the low end, they're looking at 20,000, and at the high end, they're looking at 400,000, right? Um, I mean, I would imagine that if you're in their system, how long do they have people in their system? If you're there for a full year, right? Um, you could be there for a full year and never meet the right person. you could be there for a month and meet the right person. So if you're there and you don't have the right person, right, how do you like what success? You get married? Is that, or you have a long-term BF boyfriend or girlfriend? Is that the,
Well,
you know,
from the reading that I've done about matchmaking services, a second date, if you go on the first date and the person's not a serial killer and you decide to see them again, they're well vetted. But remember, you're only as good as who's in their database.
right, as
So
who's in their database, right,
there's a
right.
lot of fillers. And I didn't want to be the obnoxious student in the session because I really could have been. Because I know this from experience. I'm a filler in a matchmaking service. I paid $99.
Yeah, so Rosie, could you define for everybody what a filler is?
A filler is when they're going through criteria, they're not actively looking for matches for me. If I happen to check the boxes of somebody that is a paying client, they'll say, "Oh, she's in the area, she's the age range, she's a widow," whatever the parameters are, and
Mhm.
then they'll do their screening because remember they're vetting out the matches for their paying clients, and then in this particular case, I had a video call, and
Oh,
and I could tell right away that well, first of all, they're in a scramble, right? Because depending on, and they did not go into any of this, by the way, depending on what level paying customer you are, if I'm paying 10 grand, it better be love at first sight in my world. I mean, it better be, I hit the jackpot. But you can't predict chemistry.
no, no, you can't. And that brings me to another point. Did they say how many matches a person gets for the five or $10,000?
They did not go into any details of the service.
Huh, interesting. Okay.
Well, and
I
and so let's take that a bit further. Why didn't they? Because they want you to reach out
right.
and they're going
So
to try to sell you. So
mhm.
if you're a person that's been online dating for, let's say, 5 years, you've had maybe a couple of relationships, you take a break, you join back up. If I were to guess, I would think that's probably a pretty common scenario. Oh, I was on for a few months. I took a break. The kids were out of school. Oh, my father was sick. I mean, there's a million different subsets
Sure.
of. I would say if you're into this for 5 years, maybe you're hitting the point of desperation. You really want to meet someone. The online thing isn't really working for you. I personally would rather fumble around online and have some say into my selections
Mhm.
than somebody say, you know what, Bob is perfect for you. It's magic. It's going to be magic with a matchmaking service. Because I was a filler,
Mhm.
I knew nothing about him. Nothing. I didn't even know his first name until the date was set and we had to communicate. And I suspect they probably do it the same way. I had no information at all. We had to communicate through a concierge, through a central point.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
on the way to the date, so I'm driving, and this particular date was maybe, I'll say it's a half hour, but it probably wasn't even that much. They told me his name and what he'd be wearing so I could recognize him.
So what was the date like when you went?
Not somebody I would have gone out with had I seen a picture.
Okay. So physically he wasn't your type.
He wasn't my type. I would not have selected him. And that to me, now remember, they don't care about me. They care about the paying client.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just kind of
So
curious.
if I'm what he wants, what I want doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay.
If he said, I want a woman in this age range and she needs to live within 50 miles of where I live, and
Right.
I prefer if she's Catholic. I mean, all of these parameters obviously vary from person to person. My preferences had no impact on whether or not we would be matched. But in their data, it's a win. And I would
Right.
think there's probably like a little star next to my name, like, hey, she was good, she wasn't weird. They didn't specifically share his feedback, but they said he really liked you. He thought you were exactly as promised, like you're some sort of a grocery store item. You're
Yeah.
exactly as promised. And he is excited to see you again. Do
I
you
mean,
say
it's a
you
tough, it's a tough spot, right? It's a tough spot. He's
Well,
not a bad guy. He's just not for you. And to your point, had you known a little bit more about him and his quirks before you went out on the date, you would never have selected him to go out with. So,
no, and once I knew him and so I retro because this is how I roll, because I retroactively did my research.
hmm.
He definitely wasn't somebody I would have gone out with.
As you went through and picked the dates, right? As you went through and picked your dates, from your, I mean, I know the principle of Freak of the Week in that, yep, you got to be in it to win it. You got to go out, you got to meet, you got to have a good attitude and find something in common with the person. And, um, you know, I, since you've been doing this, I don't think there has been one person that you said this is an absolute disaster.
I would not say any of them have been just the dates themselves were not disasters. The aftermath, some of the stuff that comes out after, maybe I don't want to go out with you again. Maybe we're just
Okay.
not a good match. But
Yep.
that still makes it a success because it was a date that wasn't disastrous and I left in tears or I was afraid he had drugged me. I mean, nothing so dramatic. And
Right.
I like being part of the process. I mean, I want to talk to you on the phone. I mean, being the filler on a matchmaking is really unnerving. All you're doing is making their metrics look good. This has nothing
Mhm.
to do with you.
No.
And it's really doing a disservice in my mind to the paying guy. Because you're
Hmm.
going in now, you got to tell your whole story to this woman that, whatever reason, rolled the dice, seat of the pants, whatever you want to call it, decided she would meet you. I think it makes for a much more awkward and maybe a higher expectation because I paid thousands of dollars for you,
Yep.
and I don't think he was disappointed, but I think my feelings didn't matter.
No. And how can that be a matchmaking service, right? Because just from a
Well,
little
it's
bit
a
of a homework.
one-sided matchmaking service.
Right, right. And again, I did a little bit of homework because I knew we were going to have this discussion today. So let me pull something up for you, Rosie, because I'm really curious to see. Let me share my screen. I want to see what your thoughts are. They actually have these quote unquote credentials for these matchmaking places, and one of them is this matchmaking institute, right? Um, and again, obviously, they're selling it as a career, right? Give yourself flexibility, financial freedom, and a career. And they're going to teach you how to become certified, how to do
Oh, as a
science.
matchmaker.
Right, as a matchmaker. So they're going to teach you how to do science-based, coaching certification, which what is that? Who knows? Um, you know, again, the sales component of it, right? The 10 times sales multiplier, right? How do you grow your business? Because, the starter kit, ask the expert. But what I've noticed about what I've noticed in some of these places, because none of this stuff is really, it's not regulated. How could you be a certified matchmaking institute? Like, who are these people, right? What kind of questions are
You
they
pass
asking?
the test. I mean,
Right. You pass the test. I mean, let's see, just see how long.
Welcome to the Matchmaking Institute. If you're interested in becoming a matchmaker or starting your own matchmaking business, you're in the right place. We are the only state licensed school in the world, and we've trained and certified thousands of matchmakers all over the globe.
What state
When you enroll in our program,
certified? What state are you
but
certified?
they said state certified and then said something like international, which it's a
Yeah,
little that it's
certified
hard.
and international.
As you can tell, this was a hot button for us, so I did a little deeper digging. The Matchmaking Institute is the only school in the world authorized to issue a certification in matchmaking, and the Institute is licensed by the New York Department of Education and has an approved curriculum. However, note, there is no mandatory certification for the position of a matchmaker in any state.
And I get it. Like if I was going to spend the money to do something like that, I would want to know that the person on the other side spent just as much money to do that. Because the whole
had as much skin in the game. Absolutely.
Right. Right. Has much skin in the game, or or that person had gone through the whole vetting, the same exact kind of vetting process that I went through. Now, if the vetting process you went through was the same exact vetting process that he had to go through, right? Just as a filler, are you kidding me? Like, I can't even.
And they didn't really vet me at all. I mean, I mean, short of me handing them a W-2 or, a fingerprint so that they could run it at the police station. I mean, you're literally, it's just like when you're online, you're taking someone's word for it until you can prove otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the talk I had with her, I'm trying to think back. I want to say it was maybe 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So you're widowed. I mean, did she look up my husband's obituary? I'm going to go with no.
No, yeah, I would say that too.
Just some of the, psychotic though it might be, some of the things that I do, you tell me you're a widower, I'm going to find out.
Right, 100%, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm going to self-protect. I mean, I don't go into this blindly like, oh, everything's sunshine and lollipops. She did not ask me enough pointed questions, like, when did your husband die? You could, I mean, if you understand that you're going to be vetted, I think I would have expected questions like that.
Is this something that you would pay for? Is this something that you would maybe recommend people do? What are your thoughts?
It's a great question. No, it is not something I would pay for. Okay. Mainly because I feel like I'm having pretty good success on my own. And I usually temper things with, are they able to do a better job than I'm doing? If you don't want to do the work, however, I'll do a yes, but make sure you ask all the right questions. Maybe you have a job where you travel all the time. You don't have a chance to spend much time online. I respect that. And if you're willing to put up that amount of money, I would want some pretty firm confidence that they're going to deliver what I'm expecting. And I think that's a conversation that I would want to have. Me personally, I wouldn't do this because I'm taking the time. I trust myself. But I can see where it might be handy if I were in a career where I just didn't have the time. But boy, I'd want to know what that database looks like and where you're drawing my potential matches from. It speaks to personal preference. I mean, are you going to spend 10 grand and still come up with a freak? I'm going to go with yes.
And with that, just remember, you two are
someone's freak of the week, match made or not.